guys, this is going to be the tutorial that's going to show you how to make this Winsome stitch poncho. Okay, so I made a video, in the past. I put up a tutorial, a video showing this poncho, and I was down in my dining room, and you can see the whole poncho a lot better than you can here, because it's really close up. But I was telling you guys how the tips were kind of uneven, and I couldn't find an exact pattern for the top of the poncho, and I was having a lot of struggle with it. And I asked you guys, should I even do a tutorial on this, and you said yes. A lot of you mentioned that you really liked the colors that I used for this poncho, so I'm going to show you what I used here. I used 2 different solid colors that you can see. This color is this one here, and then this one is the golden color here, and the other color, this, and it changes as it goes to this color here sometimes, and also to a light brown. It's Elise Burkham Baltic line, and the color lot, or the color number, is 4282, and the lot number is 721620. So that's the numbers that you need if you want to look for this kind of yarn. But this gold color here, it looks like it's from a company called Kartopu, and then underneath here it says Ristal or something, and the color number is K831, and the lot number is 1925. And this one's same company, the lighter color goldish brown, and the number for that is K361, and the lot number is 2450. Each one of these are worsted weight yarn, 4-ply for the US, 10-ply for Australia. The amount of yarn that you're going to need for these, for this child size one that I made, it only took one skein of each of these colors to complete the whole thing. And I made an adult size one to fit a big gal, so plus size, and it took 2 skeins of each. So because you're using 3 different colors, if you're using 3 different colors, then you're only going to need 2 skeins of each. So a total of 6 skeins for adult and 3 skeins for a child. So I'm going to start off by explaining to you a little bit about how you're going to measure this to find out how long you need to make your longest piece. Okay, I have this long piece here. It's made up of one long piece and a small piece. And you'll take your long piece here and you're going to fold it in half for one side of the poncho, and then you'll just take this other piece and also fold it in half, which will make up the neckline of the poncho. So you're basically just making 2 pieces back and forth, but this long one is the main one that you need to figure out the size of. So what I did is I took a tape roll, a tape measure, and you measure from the shoulder to down as far as you want your poncho to fall. And then you do the same. Make sure that you go all the way from the front to, again, over the shoulder to the back. Once you've got that number, write it down. Then this is what you'll make your main, how long you'll make your main one. Now, the multiples of this stitch is 7 plus 2. And you're going to be using 2 different size hooks. One you're going to use is a 6mm hook, which is a size J in the US. And for the main part of the stitch, you're going to be using a size H hook, or a 5mm hook. So I recommend, since this is something that someone's going to wear, that you especially do not want it to have that tugged look at the beginning chain, use the 6mm hook just to make the beginning chain, and then for the rest of it you'll switch over and you'll use your 5mm hook. So I recommend, especially when making something for somebody, is you make a little gauge. So since this is multiples of 7 plus 2, you would do a chain of 7 and 7, which would be 14, plus 2 would be 16. So make a chain of 16 with your 6mm hook, and then I'll teach you how to do the stitch in a second. Make your stitch until you've gotten your first puff shells done, and then get your measuring tape out and measure to see how wide 2 of these are. And I mean from this point to this point. So you're going to have a double crochet on each side as well. So measure from one double crochet to the other double crochet, and this for me is about 12 centimeters. I'm so used to inches. I grew up in the US, but I'm having to learn. So it's about, I guess it's about 2.5 inches, something like that. Anyway, for me. And so then I would base my long chain on that. So it's so important to go ahead and make a gauge, because you don't want to start making some long piece and then find out it's too short or way too long. Oh, I wanted to add really quickly, I don't crochet really tightly, but I don't crochet super loose either. So I'm kind of like in between there. So if you crochet about that way as well, the chain that I used for my daughter, for her poncho, the long piece, was 121 chains. Plus I made a plus size one for myself, and I chained 177. Okay, so we're going to start with our 6mm hook, and we're going to chain in multiples of 7 until you reach your desired size, and then you'll add your plus 2 chains. You just chain 2 more. But first you chain in multiples of 7. 1, 2, and do not chain very tightly. Try to keep it loose. 7, and then I'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I have my 7, my multiples of 7, and now I'm going to go ahead and do my chain of 2, because I'm only making this very small just to show you how to do the stitch. Now, when you're doing a very, very long chain, which is going to be hundreds of chains, I recommend that about every 50 stitches, every 50 chains or every 100 chains, that you place a marker in that 100th or 50th chain, and then keep counting, keep going on. But if you lose count, then you know you can at least go back to that marker, and you know that's at least 50 or that's 100. So that way you don't have to count the whole 200, the whole 177 chains. Once you get your multiples of 7 plus 2, you want to switch from your 6mm hook to your 5mm. Now, when you're ready to do the stitch, you'll want to start by going into the second chain from your hook and put a single crochet. Then you'll skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in this third chain here, you want to start doing your puff stitches. So you're going to yarn over, and you're going to go into that chain and pull up a loop. And you'll do that 3 more times. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, pull up a loop. 5 loops on the hook. Yarn over, go into that same stitch for the 3rd time, pull up a loop. 7 loops on your hook. Now you only want to go through 6 of the 7 loops, leaving that 7th one on your hook still. So yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, leaving the 7th, and then you'll yarn over, pull through those last remaining 2 loops, and chain 1. Then working within the same stitch, you're going to make another puff stitch like this. So you're going to yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up a loop. And do that 2 more times. Yarn over, go through the same stitch, pull up a loop, 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, same stitch, pull up a loop, 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over and only pull through 6 of the loops. Then yarn over, pull through the 2, and chain 1. Now you have 2 these puff stitches worked in the same stitch, same chain. Now you want to go right into your next chain and do exactly what you just did here. You're going to be putting 2 puff stitches in this one as well. So yarn over, go into the next stitch here, pull up a loop, then you'll do that 2 more times, yarn over, go into the same stitch, pull up a loop, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, go into the same stitch, pull up a loop, 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 6 loops, yarn over, go through 2, and then chain 1. Now going back into the same stitch again, yarn over, go into the same stitch, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, same stitch, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, same stitch, 7 loops on your hook. Pull through all 7 loops, all 6 loops, sorry, then 2 loops, and then chain 1. And this is what you got so far. You got 2 puff stitches worked and 2 of the chains. Oh, sorry about that, I needed some water. I was about to cough. Okay, so once you get done with your puff stitches, you want to count over 2 chains, 1, 2, and then the 3rd chain, so you'll be skipping 2 chains. So in the 3rd chain, you'll want to do a single crochet. And then again, you'll skip 2 stitches on this side of the single crochet. So 1, 2, and then this 3rd stitch away from your single crochet, you'll be doing exactly what you did here by putting 2 of those puff stitches worked in the same stitch. So yarn over and go into that chain. And you'll be yarning over and going into that stitch a total 3 times until you have 7 loops on your hook. Pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. And then make your 2nd puff stitch in the same stitch. So yarn over and go into the stitch and pull up a loop 3 times, 7 loops on the hook, pull through 6, pull through 2, and chain 1. So there's our first one. Now we need to go into our next chain. So yarn over, go into the next chain and pull up a loop. Do this 3 times, then pull through 7, pull through 2, and chain 1. Sorry again, I was about to cough again. I don't know what's wrong with me this morning. I think I'm gonna need to go down and get myself some coffee. Okay, anyway, you finish this one by putting your 2nd puff in there, and then you should have 3 chains left on this row. So you'll skip 2 of them, and in the very last chain you're going to put a single crochet, and that's what the first row will look like. And I will be right back. I'm going to run down and get myself some coffee. Okay, got my coffee. Okay, that hits the spot. Okay, so I'm ready for row 2. Okay, for row 2, we're going to need to change the color. At least I did. I changed every 2 rows. So our first row was our chain, and then this is our 2nd row. So I'm not going to cut my yarn. I think you will have to. I'm not sure. I don't remember if I cut my yarn. Yeah, I did. See all my little fringe here? So I would cut it at the end, but I'm not going to cut mine because this is just sample. Okay, so how I'm going to change colors. Every time you want to change colors is you get the next color and you just pull it through the loop of your last color. Then just pull the slip knot or your loop down, and then now just work with your new color. So for our row 2, we're going to start by chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then turn. And you want to double crochet in the very first chain. We're going to be making V stitches this round, and the chain 3 is the first 2 chains are counted as our double crochet, and then the 3rd chain is counted as our chain. Now we need to make the other part of the V stitch, so we're going to be putting a double crochet within the same stitch. So in the very first single crochet of the row, put a double crochet, and that's our first V stitch. Now you want to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you're going to skip on over here to your single crochet, and you're going to work a V-stitch in there as well. So yarn over, go into that single crochet stitch, and work a double crochet. And you can see the chain 5 brought you over past your puff shell. So then you'll chain 1 and go back and do a double crochet in that same single crochet. And then you'll repeat that for the row. You'll chain 5. Then you'll find your next single crochet and you'll work your V-stitch in there. And when you get to the end of your row, your very last single crochet of the row, you'll work a V-stitch in that as well. So double crochet, chain 1, go back in the same stitch, and finish your V-stitch. And this is what the end of your row 2 will look like. You'll have your V-stitch here, V-stitch here, V-stitch here. So for row 3, you'll be continuing with the same color. You'll chain 3 and turn. Now you're going to be working your puff stitches just like you did for the first or the second row, or no, row 1. But instead of doing it 2 in one stitch, 2 in the other, you're going to be working all 4 puff stitches within this one V-stitch. But the only difference is when you're on the very first V-stitch of a row or the very last V-stitch of a row, you'll only put 2. Just like shown here. It's a half a puff stitch. So the ones on the beginning or the end of a row, when you reach a row like this, well, you'll only put 2. So going in that space, in the V-stitch space, you're going to work your first puff stitch. Remember, you're just yarning over and going into that stitch 3 times till you have 7 loops on your hook. Pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. And we'll do that one more time. Yarn over and go into that V-stitch 3 times, 7 loops on the hook, pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. Now you're done with your half puff stitch. Now, just a second, you'll want to work a double crochet in this space, 1 row and down into the middle of your puff stitches. So you'll have 2 on this side, 2 on this side. So this middle stitch here, you're going to work a double crochet in this big space. And then you'll chain 1. And then now you're going to work your first full puff stitch shell within this middle V-stitch here. So again, you're yarning over, pulling up a loop till you have 7 loops on your hook. Pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. Then you'll do that 3 more times in the same stitch. And you can pull your puff stitches over to give yourself more room if you need. Don't forget, chain 1 after each one. So I'm fighting with my, so do that one more time. Okay, got my 4 worked in my V-stitch. Then again, you want to go down and find that middle puff stitch here and put a double crochet in between. Then you'll chain 1 and you'll work your half shell here. So you only put 2 puff stitches in this last one. Wait, 1, 2, 4, 6, okay. Two, 3, and then I'm not going to chain 1 at the end of this row because I want to chain a chain. I want to change colors. So let me find a color here. I guess I'm going to go with the sorry about that, my other gold color that I was using before. And again, you're going to change colors just like you did before. Take your new color. You can cut your old color off. And you're just going to replace the color. So at the end of a row, you need to change colors, don't chain. So now that we got our new color, we're going to grab it instead. And this is going to be row 4. So you want to begin this row 4 by chaining 5. So 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to skip over, put a V-stitch on the top of our double crochets here. Our V-stitches are where we're going to be putting our puff stitch shells next. So you want them to be kind of offset. So here in the double crochet here, we're going to put a V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Then we're going to do our chain of 5, and over the puff stitch we go with our chain, and we're going to work a V-stitch in our next double crochet. Chain 1, and then at the very end of the row you're going to continue to repeat that. Chain 5, do your V-stitch in your next double crochet until you reach into the row. To end the row, you'll chain only 3 after your last V-stitch here instead of 5, and then you're going to double crochet in the top of the chain 3 here. So you're going to find the top of that chain and do a double crochet. So for row 5, you will chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. And you're going to work your 4 puff stitches here in the first V-stitch. So just like we did before. Yarn over, go into it 3 times, pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. So you want to continue to put all 4 of your puff stitches there. Okay, once you're done with your 4 puff stitches, again, you want to do a double crochet in this middle stitch in between your 2 puff stitches or your shell below. So find that middle stitch and put a double crochet and chain 1. Then again, you're going to work your puff stitches, your 4 puff stitches here in the next V-stitch. Okay, to end the row, you want to double crochet in the 5th chain. I'm sorry, not the 5th, the 3rd. The 3rd chain of the beginning 5 chains here. So I'm going to count from the bottom. 1, 2, 3. So this middle chain, you're going to end the row by doing a double crochet in that stitch. And that's the end of row 5. So for row 6, which will be the last row, and then after that it'll just be a repeat. You'll want to switch colors. I guess I'm just going to bring up my original color because I don't want to cut my yarn. So I'm just going to pull up my color, pull it through here since it's just a demo piece. You probably should cut your yarn. So for row 6, we're going to begin by chaining 3, then turn, and double crochet into the same stitch. Remember, you're making your first V-stitch here. And then you'll do a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to move over to your first double crochet and work your next V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Then you'll repeat again by chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then again, you'll go to your next double crochet and work a V-stitch. And you continue that till you get to the end of the row. Then it was a double crochet here. You're going to do it in the middle chain. You have a chain of 3 here, so you're going to count 1, 2, and in this middle chain, you'll put your double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So you'll put your V-stitch there. And then this is where it starts to repeat, where you'll start to do your rows, repeat rows 3 through 6. So remember, next row now, you're only going to put 2 puff stitches Then you'll double crochet in the middle here, chain 1, and then do your full puff stitch row, your shell, and then you'll again double crochet, chain 1 in this middle here, and then you'll do your half here, your half, just your 2 puff stitches there, and that's how you'll end this row. Now I did my daughter who's age 7 and my son who's age 5. I stopped after 14 total color changes. So I'm counting like 1, 2, 3. So I just did this until I had a total of 14. So here it is. I did the total of 14 rows of color changes, and it was wide enough. You want to make this wide enough to basically cover most of the chest, 1/3 of the chest of the person, and have the point of the poncho facing down like that, so to a point. And to find out the size you need to make for your smaller piece, what I did was I took my piece and my longer rectangle, and I folded it in half, and then you want to fold it in half again, and then count how many widest that your piece is. Mine is no wider than 4 shells, and then you have the 3 shells and the 2 halves. So every shell is 7, multiples of 7. So I'm going to make multiples of 7, which is a total of 28 stitches, and then you need to add plus 2 before you begin. So I did a chain of 30, and then I began just like I did before. I made a chain of 30 using my 6mm hook, and then I switched to my 5mm hook, and then I began, and I did my the colors exactly like I did the beginning of my other piece. And I did it also for 14 rows. So now once you get both of your pieces done and completed, I'll show you how I put them together. Okay, I decided I'm going to go ahead and use the gray color to do my sewing with, because I think it would make a nice border here. Though maybe the blue, if you're going with the regular color, should be the next color. But I think gray would look nice. So I don't know. So at least for the sewing, I'm going to use gray. So you want to fold your piece in half. And you can set it like this. Have the open piece at the bottom here. And then you get your small piece as well. Fold it in half. And you're going to line up. So hard to do this on such a small table. You're going to try to line up the bottom with this fold of this bottom. Just try to make it where it's even. And then once you do, grab this corner to this corner, and then grab your top piece here to this piece up here. And I'm just going to hold it like this, and I want to sew from the inside, so I'm going to flip it over like this, so I have both the wrong sides facing, and then you can let go of that side, and you can line these 2 corner pieces up. And I'm just going to do a single crochet to attach them, because I feel like it's the strongest kind you can use to sew something up. So I'm going to go into the first stitch of one, and then next space that I can here, and I'm going to do a single crochet to attach my color. Now about there's no perfect way to do this on these side stitches, just like it's going to be the same way around the collar. You're just going to have to try to keep your stitches as even as you can. May take some finesse. You just want it to be as even as you can. Just use the side stitches as best you can. You go through one and then try to find it's equal on the other side, and get your yarn to go through it, and then single crochet. And if you want, you can get a piece of string and get it as even as you can, and then go in through the last stitch of here and into the stitch here on the other side, and just pull it through the 2 stitches, but hold on to the tail on the end. Then you just want to pull that tail through your loop and pull it, and it will hold this piece together here, so you won't have so much slippage as you try to sew. But don't let it be the fix-all for keeping it straight. I still recommend after, you know, 3 to 5 stitches or so that you check it to make sure that everything is straight. So continue down until you reach your marker here. So I'm going to actually need to get my rectangle folded in half, go on the wrong side. Now I got my wrong sides facing. My little flap I'm going to pull out. Where are you, flap? There you are. Get out of there. Okay, fold your piece. Okay, now grab your flap. Should also be on the bad side, now bad side, the wrong side. And now line up point to point. This one's actually gray on this side, so find this. Then I'm going to do this just to make it easier for myself. Now you want to put your marker here to attach, to hold. Okay, wrong side, wrong side. Okay. Okay. So again, line up your corner to corner here. Then I'm going to attach my color on just like I did before. And again, there's no perfect way. Whoops, looks funny. There's no perfect way to do this. You're just going to have to try to keep it as even as you can. To connect this side, you want to go through the stitch, which is easy to see, but the beginning stitch here is just a chain. Right before the puff stitch, remember you're skipping 2 in between each of the puff stitches before you do your single crochet, so you'll want to do this when you sew too. You skip 2 and then this is your first single crochet here, so that's where I'm going to attach it. So try to do your best to keep all your stitches as even as you can. And again, after about 3 to 5 stitches, recheck and make sure you don't have any weird lumps, that everything is still kind of straight. Okay, I single crocheted again to my marker on this side, which I can remove now. And you can hide your tails by just going down the stitches of the single crochets that you just did. And hide both your tails around your little piece. Now we need to flip it back over to the good side. See, this is our little piece we just sewed on, so this is half of it. And then just equally half it on the other side. And there is this poncho. And as you can see, this is smaller than this side. So what I do is just try to maneuver it a little bit. Try to make sure there's kind of a point. It's not perfect. I know this is one of the reasons why I had trouble with releasing it. And also it's a little off, but it's not off by that much, especially if you add fringe to it. You're not going to be able to see that this side is so off than this side. So what I decided to do with this top part is I ended up finding another video where somebody had done one. I was struggling there for a while. Turn my heater off. Go off heater. Too hot. Anyway, I decided to just do it the way that she was doing it. There's no clear way to go around it, from me anyway. So I'm just going to attempt to do the way she did it. Hopefully it's going to work out. So I'm going to start with my gray color again. And she started like maybe 4 stitches from the corner where we sewed it together. So this is where it's sewn. So I'm going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go ahead and attach my color here. Good thing is ours aren't side stitches. All of them all the way around, you'll be able to see the stitches very clearly. So for the most part. So I'm going to start here and attach it by single crochet method, which, did I show you how to do that? I always do the single crochet method when I know I'm about to single crochet. You just go into the stitch, pull up a loop, but don't go through the loop. I mean, don't slip stitch by pulling it through your loop on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both stitches. That's your first single crochet. And then I'm going to work a single crochet into the next, if it lets me. There we go. And I'm going to do it until, actually, with hers, she did her very first row was nothing but single crochets. And this little part here where you sew, just try to find a place to stick a stitch right there in the middle of the hump. And I'm hiding my tail, working over my tail as I go, though it's probably a better idea, especially being around the neck, that you work it in with a tapestry needle. Probably end up having to do that later. So anyway, we're going to do the 1 stitch all the way around, and it should be pretty easy because your stitches aren't side stitches. And I'm just going to put 1 stitch in each stitch. Remember this, the chain. So I'm putting it in the big stitch because of the chain, and then don't forget, you still have a stitch right here. So I'm going into the big space, then I'm going into the top of the double crochet, then in the big space in between the puffs, and then that stitch on the top of the puffs. So essentially each little section here will have 2 stitches in it. Okay, I've reached the beginning of my row again. I'm just going to slip stitch in my beginning single crochet. I'm trying to get under both loops. There we go. Ugh. There we go. Okay, then chain 1. Now the next row, she says to do 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then a single crochet decrease. I keep saying she. On the video it's called How to Crochet Around Poncho Neck Opening by DZ Crochet Creations is the video that I'm using. So if you want to check out her channel, go for it. Okay, so in the same stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. Next stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. And then the next will be a single crochet decrease. So you insert your hook, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, insert your hook, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, pull through all 3 stitches, all 3 loops. And then again, single crochet 1 in the next 2 stitches. And then do a single crochet decrease. And you want to repeat this all the way around, and we'll see what this looks like. Okay, I'm getting to the end of my row, and I'm going to slip stitch in this beginning stitch. And let's take a look at the poncho here. Well, it definitely looks a little smaller, but it's still pretty wide. So I think I'm going to attempt to do this row that I just did one more time, and I'll see what it looks like. Okay, so I went ahead and I did 1 more row of the single crochet in 2 stitches and then did a single crochet increase, and I didn't like it. It still wasn't shrinking it down enough. So I just want to tell you from the start what I did. You saw me do the row all the way around of just single crochets at the very beginning row. Then we did 1 row of the 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and single crochet decrease. Now that's where I left you. After that, and I didn't like what the other row looked like, I decided I was going to do 1 single crochet and then a single crochet decrease. So that's what I did for my 3rd row. I did 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet decrease, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet decrease. I'm a little far. All the way around for this row. And then for my very last row, I just did 1 single crochet in each stitch around. And it's still not perfect. I'm still not completely in love with it, but I think when worn, it's probably going to be pretty good. I don't have my son here right now, so I can't check. But if I have to add more rows, I'll just add some single crochet rows. I think it's going to be good enough. I don't know. But if I do have to change something, I'll add it to the pattern. I'll add it to the video before I publish it, because once I publish it, YouTube won't let me touch the video. Except for annotations, but most people have those turned off because too many people abuse it. Anywho, so that's what I did. I'm going to add it to the pattern, and hopefully y'all will like it. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please don't forget to like and share it. It helps me out so much. And if you're a first-time watcher, you haven't gotten around to subscribing yet, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can check me out where all my social media is. If you look in the description box below the video, you'll find the links to all the places that I am. And that's it, you guys. Thank you so very much for watching.